Rockstars, today we're talking about electric guitars versus acoustic guitars. Which is better to start out with? So I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons for both. I'm going to give you some gear recommendations, and you're going to find out which guitar you need to be on, because there's not a definitive one here. It depends on your personality. It depends on a few different things, all right? So we're going to mention all the bits and pieces here today. So I'm going to start off with acoustic today. I'll go to electric, and I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons to both. If you know about these, then you can make an educated decision, because you're going to have some people that say you definitely have to start off on an acoustic guitar. I've heard many guitar teachers say you have to start off on an acoustic. And then I've heard many teachers say, nope, it's better to start off on an electric. So who's right? Let's find out, okay? Now, just like a lot of things, it depends. And having more information is going to help you to make the correct decision for you, because what might be right for you may not be right for somebody else, okay? So let's talk about it. Acoustic guitars are, essentially guitars that you don't need to plug in. Now, a lot of people will say, yeah, but you can plug these in. Okay, right, but we're talking about guitars that generally sound pretty darn good not plugged in. And if you were going to record them in the studio, you'd set a microphone in front of them instead of plugging them into an amp, right? That's what we mean by an acoustic guitar. Semi-hollow bodies, we're going to consider those electrics, because they just are going to fall more into that category. Even though you can play them and you can hear them without an amp, you're typically going to plug those in, okay? What's great about an acoustic guitar? Well, they're portable. The two things that I like about acoustic guitars is, number one, they're portable, and number two, there's not a lot of fuss with them. You get what you get. So, for the beginner who is confused about effects, amps, how to set those things, etc., and they just want to play the instrument, an acoustic guitar is a great starter. I started off on the acoustic. In fact, I started off on a nylon string student guitar, smaller guitar, which I'm leading somewhere with all this. Nylon strings, thicker strings that were easier on the fingers. So when I start off my students, if they're really young, say like around 5 or 6, 7 even, I will typically start them off on a ukulele. Reason being is the top 4 strings, the highest 4 strings, 1, 2, 3, 4, if we're counting them from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, those strings are the same on the guitar, in that if we were to capo at the 5th fret, essentially the pitches are the same, G, C, E, and A on the acoustic guitar. So if we capo the 5th fret of the ukulele, that's essentially what we have. In fact, I have a whole video on that. Search YourGuitarSage ukulele and you're going to find that, okay? Now, so I'll start them off on ukulele a lot also because they have nylon strings. If you're not going to, if you're hell-bent on starting off on a guitar and you're a little bit older than, say, 7, then yeah, you could do that. I would suggest a nylon string guitar because they're softer on the fingers. That said, if you're okay with a little bit of finger soreness, then jump straight to the steel string. It's all just things to keep aware of, okay? The acoustic guitar is portable. You can bring it with you. You don't have to plug it into anything, but if you do have a pickup like this guitar does, I could plug it in and I could get effects and all the rest just like I would with an electric guitar. But acoustic guitars are best for strumming, and having these big type of sounds. They're great for that. Whereas an electric guitar, you don't want to be strumming quite like that. It's going to just have a different sound to it. And typically, with an acoustic guitar, you can get that percussive bit going on, like, where you're strumming and you've got almost a drum type sound. Whereas the electric, it's not really the same approach. Now, what's not cool about the acoustic guitar? Let's talk about it. The strings are typically a little bit thicker, so pressing the strings down, which is the number one thing for a newbie that they have difficulty with, is they don't have that strength and they don't have the technique. So in the beginning, they're trying to press these fingers down. And so an acoustic guitar can be a little bit more trying because the strings are typically a little bit higher and a little bit thicker. So it can be a problem, okay? Electric guitar, not so much like that. In fact, let's talk about the electric. Now, by the way, folks, if you are new to guitar and you're, all these things that I'm talking to you about, you're like, man, I'm running into that. Hit the first link below this video. YourGuitarSage.com/UGS. I'm literally giving you the Unstoppable Guitar System Standard. We've had hundreds of thousands of students go through this with massive success. Will absolutely change the way you think about guitar. And in fact, if this video is helping you, you're gonna find other videos that are gonna truly build your foundation in that series, okay? Just click that link below. And by the way, friends, not getting your questions today with our new format. It's much shorter and we gotta get in and get out. But there's ways that you can get in touch with me. On social, you can get in touch with me. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the rest. And in fact, the best way to get in touch with me is on Instagram by sending me a direct message, and then I can return the message with a voice, video, that sort of thing. So that's the best way to do it. Or, even better than that one I should say, is via text. This number right here, you can text UGS to that number, and friends, we will be in communication. Or you can type in free to that number and I'll set you up with that free course. You don't even have to do anything. Literally type in free to that number. We'll get you set up, okay? All right, so let's talk about the electric. Now, what are the pros and cons with the electric? Well, the cons are this. It's not very portable. I mean, the guitar itself is portable, but without the pedals, without the amp and everything else, which is kind of what makes the electric so cool, you don't have that option. Now, you can just take it with you, unplug and go, and I do this a lot. Or if you have a portable headphone amp, then it makes it a little bit more portable. But with the acoustic, you don't have to plug into anything. The electric, you do. So that could be a pro or a con depending on your usage of it. It's also what makes the electric so cool, because I can take something that just sounds somewhat acoustic sounding, right, where we could strum. See, if I'm strumming like that, it's a little bit abrasive. It's a little bit, very, very, very loud, not very dynamic. It's just in your face. That's what you get from the electric. But there's also other things that you can do with the electric, like add effects. Or things like delay, You can do that with acoustics, but typically you're going to get a sound that is that's going to lend itself more to that specific type of playing. Okay. Now on electric, you have more breadth of frets that you can hit. They're typically, they go up higher, so you can get, there's typically cutaways and that sort of stuff made for hitting the higher notes. So you could do, for soloing and that sort of thing. Acoustic, not so much. Now, you typically have thinner strings on the electric, which also makes it easier to play or easier to press down. Typically, but not always. I have acoustic guitars that have better actions than some of my electrics. But for the most part, electric strings are thinner. They take the intonation better on the thinner strings, whereas acoustic guitars not as much. And typically the action, the string height from the neck to where the string actually is, that difference is called the action, the fret action. So if the action is high on your guitar, or the string action we call it, if the string action is high, typically you're going to find that on acoustic guitars, meaning it's harder to press down. So it feels mushier, okay? When you're pressing down, there's more give. Electric's not as much. So in the end, you know, what you have is a guitar that with electrics, they're typically easier to fret than the acoustic, but the typical caveat to it is you've got more to keep up with. You've got a volume knob, you have a pickup selector, you have tone, you have pedals, you've got the amp, those sorts of things. And if you're just not into that, if you're more of a simple person who doesn't want to mess with that, then the acoustic guitar is going to be better for you. Now, that said, I think you could get into either. I think you could get into the electric guitar and you're going to be fine. You'll navigate it. You'll learn what each effect does. You'll learn what this knob does and this knob and this knob, especially if you're in UGS Standard, because I'm giving that to you for free today and I go over all that stuff. So you're going to be good either way. What I'm trying to do here in this video, friends, is really give you this latitude to understand, or this latitude to not be so scared. Jump in. Whatever guitar you can get a hold of that guitar. You're going to figure it out, okay? This is not rocket science. I really want to liberate you to understand that it is literally, the more your hands are on this instrument, the better you're going to become. There's nobody who cannot play this instrument if the desire is there, but you can learn, but you've got to learn stuff step by step. All right, my friends, I'm here to help you. Hit that first link below if you would like to get into UGS Standard for absolutely free. Again, I'm sorry I can't get to all the questions today, but you can hit me up on text, 1-833-744-0154. Again, 833-744-0154. Just hit UGS if you're in UGS already there and you just want to communicate with me. Otherwise, type in free to that number right there. I'll set you up with UGS Standard. All right, my friends, that and social is how you're going to get in touch with me now, because, and when we do the big live shows. Right now we're not doing the big ones, we're doing much smaller broadcasts, so you know how to get in touch with me. My friends, I'm out of here. I love you. See ya.